My father mocked me as useless in front of everyone until my $17 M trust was revealed. I always knew my father loved an audience more than he loved me. The ballroom glittered in gold and crystal, every table dressed in ivory linen, every chair wrapped in satin. A giant screen behind the stage flashed. Congratulations, Richard Hale, 42 years of leadership. Leadership. That word almost made me laugh. The Hale and Barton executive team filled the room. City council members, investors, my father's golf buddies, even the mayor was there. And then there was me, the useless daughter. I stood near the back of the ballroom, wearing a navy silk dress I bought myself, not from my father's money, but from the marketing consulting firm I quietly built over the past 4 years. No one knew. And that's exactly how I wanted it. Growing up Hale. My name is Victoria Hale. And in my father's world, I was a disappointment from the moment I decided not to join his construction empire. My older brother, Daniel, was the golden child. Yale MBA, perfect hair, firm handshake, groomed successor. Me. I chose communications, branding, digital strategy. Fluffy degrees for people who don't like real work, my father would say. He said it at Thanksgiving. He said it at Christmas. He once said it in front of my college dean. When I moved to Chicago instead of staying in Boston to work under him, he told everyone I was finding myself. Translation, failing. What he never knew, what no one knew, was that my grandfather had believed in me. And my grandfather had always played the long game. The retirement speech. At 8:47 p.m., the MC tapped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the man of the hour. Applause exploded. My father took the stage, grinning like a king surveying his kingdom. He thanked investors, he thanked partners, he thanked Daniel, the future of Hale and Barton. Then his eyes scanned the crowd and landed on me. Oh, and I suppose I should thank my daughter, Victoria. A few polite claps. She couldn't be bothered to join the family business, he continued, smiling as if this were charming. But every empire needs a free spirit, right? Laughter. My stomach tightened. She's still figuring life out, he added. A late bloomer. More laughter. I felt heat crawl up my neck. Then came the final blow. But no matter what, she'll always be my daughter, even if she hasn't quite figured out how to be useful yet. The room erupted. Laughed. Some people looked uncomfortable. Daniel smirked. And in that moment, something inside me, something that had endured for 28 years, went completely silent. Not broken. Silent. Because I knew something he didn't. The call that changed everything. 3 weeks earlier, I'd received a call from a Manhattan estate attorney. Miss Hale, the voice had said, I represent the estate of your grandfather, William Hale. My grandfather had passed away 2 years ago. I assumed everything was settled. It has come time to activate the final clause of his trust. I had nearly dropped the phone. What clause? A private trust fund in your name. Total valuation currently stands at $17.4 million. I remember sitting down on my apartment floor. That's not possible, I whispered. It was structured to remain confidential until your father's official retirement from Hale and Barton. My grandfather had built the original company before my father expanded it. But unlike my father, Grandpa believed in listening. When I was 12, he'd asked me what I wanted to be. I told him, someone who builds things people can't see, ideas. He smiled and said, that's harder than pouring concrete. Apparently, he meant it. Back to the ballroom. As my father's laughter-filled speech wound down, he lifted his champagne glass. To legacy. Everyone stood. Everyone cheered. Except me. I was calm now. Because tonight wasn't just his retirement party. It was the deadline. At 9, 9:00 p.m. sharp, the law firm's representative was scheduled to arrive. My father didn't know that. Daniel didn't know that. But the board of Hale and Barton, they were about to find out. The interruption. 9:02 p.m. Just as dessert was served, the ballroom doors opened. 2 men in tailored suits entered, followed by a woman carrying a leather portfolio. Whispers spread. They approached the stage. My father frowned. "Can I help you?" The woman spoke clearly into the microphone. "Mr. Richard Hale." "Yes. I'm attorney Laura Bennett. We represent the estate of William Hale. We're here to execute the final clause of his trust agreement." The room went silent. I didn't move. My father blinked. That was settled years ago. Not entirely. She opened the portfolio and handed him a document. He read the first page. Color drained from his face. The clause. Laura continued speaking. As per William Hale's written directive, upon Richard Hale's formal retirement from Hale and Barton, 38% of his controlling shares are to be transferred into the Hale Innovation Trust. Murmurs. Board members shifted in their seats. My father's hand trembled slightly. "What trust?" he demanded. "The Hale Innovation Trust," she replied. "Sole beneficiary Victoria Hale." Gasps. I finally stepped forward. Every eye turned to me. Daniel's smile disappeared. My father looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. "That's impossible," he said. Laura continued. "The trust's current valuation, including diversified holdings and compounded investment growth over 26 years, stands at approximately $17.4 million. Silence. Utter silence. Then, and effective immediately, Miss Hale becomes the majority shareholder of Hale and Barton. The room exploded. The shift. Board members whispered urgently. Investors checked phones. Daniel looked like he'd swallowed glass. My father stared at me. "You knew?" he asked quietly. I met his gaze. "Yes." "For how long?" "3 weeks. And you let me stand up here." I tilted my head slightly. "And call me useless." His jaw tightened. "You orchestrated this." "No," I said calmly. "Grandpa did." A lifetime of underestimation. I walked toward the stage. He stepped back instinctively. The microphone was still live. "I never wanted your company," I said evenly. "I built my own." Confused murmurs. "My marketing firm cleared $6.2 million in revenue last year." More gasps. Daniel stared at me. "You lied," he whispered. "I didn't lie," I replied. "You just never asked." I turned to the board. "But since I now hold majority shares, I suppose I should say something as your new principal stakeholder." My father looked like he might faint. "I believe Hale and Barton has enormous potential," I continued, "but not under outdated leadership models." Several executives shifted nervously. "Effective immediately, I'll be commissioning an independent operational audit." Daniel snapped. "You can't just walk in and—" "I can," I interrupted, "legally." I held up the document. "And I will." The private moment. After the crowd dissolved into chaos, my father cornered me near the exit. "You embarrassed me." I stared at him. "You did that yourself. You think money makes you powerful." "No," I said quietly, "but respect does, and you taught everyone here not to give me any." He exhaled sharply. "What do you want, Victoria?" There it was. Not anger. Not mockery. Uncertainty. "For once," I said, "I want you to see me without already deciding who I am." He didn't answer. Because for the first time in his life, he couldn't control the room. And he couldn't control me. What he didn't know. The trust wasn't just money. It included conditions. and one of them would change everything. But that would unfold in the coming weeks. And when it did, my father would realize something far worse than losing control of his company. He would realize he had lost control of the narrative, and I was finally the one writing it.